That's perfect.
Yeah,
thank you.
There we go. It was perfect.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah, that's it. Now she's got to get up and press the button to stop
And
it.
beautifully, I've got the blooper for the front of the start of the podcast. So result. Hello, lovelies. The normal content for the podcast will continue shortly, but when you have a podcast, you're sometimes offered collaborations with companies. And a lot of the ones I get offered, I'm not interested in. I get a lot that offer me computer game software. I don't know what it is about this podcast that thinks that I would be interested in promoting computer games. I don't even play them unless it's like solitaire on my phone. But anyway, yeah, so normally I'm not interested. I mean, I get video editing software as if they think this is edited. I mean, come on. But the company got in touch, offered me a chair, which I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I've recorded a bit about it, talk about it for about 8 minutes, and then I'll see you for the usual stuff you're expecting after that. Cheers. Hello lovelies, a company called Flexispot got in touch and asked if I would be interested in reviewing a chair, this chair. And I said yes, thank you very much. They do a lot of furniture, they do desks for standing and that kind of thing. But they were talking about this chair and I said yes, that would be of interest, thank you very much. So the first bit you'll see is the recording I made last week after we put it together, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts. Cheers. Hello lovelies, so we've put the chair together as you can see. That took about an hour. We're not experienced assemblers of furniture. I mean, I've done a bit of IKEA stuff and that kind of thing, but we're fairly amateur in this, so very much the lay people. But there is an instruction manual, some of which is very comprehensive and other bits could do with a bit more detail. So it does say installation should be done with 2 or more people, and it gives a little demonstration of 2 people. So we decided to follow that to the letter. The base of the chair is quite heavy. Now, I have the power version of the chair rather than the manual, so that will make it heavier. But if you're putting together the power version, then one of those people needs to be fairly strong because it's quite a weight. You then have a components list, so you've got pictures of all the pieces and how many of each you'll have. What would have been handy with this is if it had said box 1 will contain blah 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 and box 2 will contain blah blah blah, and also there were a couple of small things like some screws and an Allen key, and it was difficult to kind of know where they were. They were actually in a bag taped to one of the other bits, but we were thinking, have we got these pieces? You know, it's an easy thing to miss, so that would help. There's only one bit that you need to screw together, and like I say, you're provided with the bolts. The diagram which shows where they go could be a bit bigger, a bit clearer, but I mean, we worked it out. We're not stupid, just doing a good impression. Once it's all together, it is very hard to move the chair. It rocks, which I'm rather liking. I mean, I've only been using it a couple of hours, but I've been doing a lot of rocking in that time. And it's got a very low centre of gravity because of the motor at the bottom. Makes it quite difficult to move, so try and get it as near to where you want it to be before you kind of finish putting it together. And if it's a chair you want to move around a lot, definitely go for the manual. Not least because you need to be near a plug for the power one. It would also be quite handy to be able to lock the base so that it doesn't swivel and it doesn't rock, because that would make it easier to move, but also you don't always want a chair that's this flexible. If you're getting up out of it, you know, and you put your arms down, the whole thing will go forward because that's where you're putting your hands. So the ability to lock it would be quite handy. And 2 more things. There are no care instructions. Now, a lot of these covers have zips, so presumably you can remove them and wash them, but there's nothing in here about temperature or whether they need to be dry cleaned or anything like that. And the only other thing, I will come on to positives in a minute. The only other thing is that it's one of those chairs where it has a footrest that comes up, but when that comes up, the back reclines as well. And there are times, particularly when you're crafting, that you may want your feet up, but you want your back straight. So we'll see on this. Having said all those negative things, we are not experienced DIYers or assemblers of anything, so the fact that we could do it in an hour without getting a divorce is quite a positive sign. So yeah, we worked together and we got it fixed. It's quite comfortable. It's nice, it looks nice, it fits in with our room. Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff. As yet largely untested. Now obviously there are two key things. Can I craft in it and can I sleep in it? The way I've been yawning today, I might find out that second one very soon. I'll come back to you in a few days and let you know the results. Cheers. Hello lovelies. Well, we've now had nearly a week for me to test out the chair and I'm voting it a definite hit. Very comfy. To answer the previous two questions, yes, I can craft in it and yes, I can sleep in it. In fact, with one of my lovely blankets or that gorgeous quilt I was made over me, I can sleep in it very well. And very happy from that point of view because I do like a nap, as we know. I don't think I'd gone into a lot of details about some of the other features of the chair. It has a pocket for storage on the side. A handy size, would hold your interchangeable tips, would hold, you know, electronic devices, small chocolate stash, you know, whatever it is you want it to hold. It is a handy little gadget. And because this is the power chair, on the other side where you have the buttons for the recline and the back upright again, there's also a couple of charging points. So from there you can charge tablet, phone, device where you watch your podcasts as required. Yeah, not much else to say. The points I made are still valid in as much as it would still be handy to be able to lock it, because it does feel, when I'm getting out of it, because at the moment I'm not at full strength, I do put my hands down to get up out of a chair, and it does feel as if it pushes it quite a way forward, whereas if it could be locked so that it would stay more upright, that would feel a little more secure for me. But I mean, that's perhaps my current circumstances more than anything else. And the one thing that I have found is, yes, when the footrest comes up, the back does go back, but there's a slight sort of timing difference between the footrest and the recliner feature. So if you time it right, you can be more upright and still have your feet up. So it's not as horizontal as I thought, which from a crafting point of view, very cosy, rather like it. So yes, voting this one a hit. Thank you very much to Flexispot for wanting to collaborate with me and for giving me the opportunity to review it. And the most important thing, and I know the thing that all of you will be keen to know, is, has it received the Heidi seal of approval? I'll let you judge for yourselves. Thanks everyone. Hello lovelies, and welcome to the March 2025 episode of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. My name's Lesley. This is a podcast about knitting, crochet, spinning, anything remotely yarny, recorded in the south coast of the UK. Welcome, whether you're here for the first time or you've been here lots of times. Thank you for being here and welcome on this sunny day at the moment. We're making the most of that. It's a bit nippy though. I have been outside and it is a tad chilly, but it's the 1st of March as I record this intro, so it's going to be a bit nippy. Hope everyone's well. Thank you for all the comments and thoughts and observations that you've made on previous podcasts. Very grateful to hear from you. Always lovely to know what you're up to and what your thoughts are, so thank you for those. I record throughout the month, and basically I just record bits as I have something to show you, and then I put them all together and I post on the last weekend of the month. So that's the format. that suggests there's some kind of structure. You'll soon realise there isn't, if you weren't aware of that already. It's called the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast because although I have a reasonable sized stash, I rarely have enough of one colour to make a complete garment. So I add in stripes or blocks or just a little something because I've got not quite enough yarn. This would seem like an example of that, although this was actually a specific project because this was an Advent project. This was Advent Christmas before last, an Advent given to me by a lovely lady called Barb in Canada. Thank you again, Barb, because I love this sweater. It's the Recalibrate, and any time I wear something hand knitted, I will link it in the notes below. So the sweater is Recalibrate, the hat is the Deathflake hat, which actually engaged me in a couple of conversations yesterday because I was standing in a corridor, as you do, and this lady said, "I like your hat." I said, "Oh, thank you." Then she started asking questions and became obvious she was a knitter and she was wearing a nice shawl. "Oh, did you make your shawl?" So it led to this very pleasant conversation on the back of me wearing this hat. So knitters are lovely people and very generous people because I am starting this podcast with things that have been sent to me and I am extremely grateful to lovely people. So thank you, much appreciated. A lovely lady called Elizabeth won a pattern on a make-along that's being hosted by Belinda of Belinda's Baubles and Mandy of Mouse's Makes. And Elizabeth won this pattern prize and asked for it to be sent to me instead. And when Belinda sent me the message, I said, "Oh, such lovely generosity," which is going to stop with me because I'm going to take the prize. Thank you very much. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Belinda. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, just that's a lovely thing. Thank you. And you'll see that pattern when I make it. But yarn has come my way, and varied and plentiful yarn has come my way. Karen from Recreational Knitting, who is not without health concerns of her own at the moment because she's recently had a knee replacement, which is an operation that needs a bit of recuperation from. But very kindly, she sent me some yarn, which is incredibly sweet of her. And when I say some yarn, this much yarn. A vast amount of yarn. This is all from Wool Warehouse. It's their Yarnsmiths Create double knit. So each ball has 290 metres, 100 grams, 100% acrylic. Lovely soft yarn, it really is nice. And I've got three fabulous colours here. So I've got this grey, which is Storm Grey, number 3008. I've got this absolutely gorgeous turquoise, which is called Vintage Teal, 3228. And then white, 3040. And there's loads of it, as you can see. So Karen, thank you so much. That is incredibly kind. I obviously contacted her to say thank you, and she mentioned that she thought about a rainbow, but because of the rainbow sweater I showed last month, she knew someone had got there before me. And she thought these were ocean colours, because I live by the sea, she lives by the sea, Karen's in Florida, and, well, she felt these oceany colours would bring us together. Being an old skeptic, I'm guessing this lovely teal is the colour of her sea a lot of the time, whereas this grey is more the colour of mine, because the sea I live near to is the English Channel. So, but what a lovely thing, and she felt that kind of brought us together because they were ocean colours. So thank you so much, Karen, that is very much appreciated. Thank you. But I've been spoiled by more than one person, because the wonderful Angela, she and Andrew of Attic Spin Dye Yarns, she is a lovely person who has sent me a number of cards and gifts during the time I've been not well, and just means a huge amount. So thank you. I've already thanked her, but thank you again, Angela. So lovely card, always very encouraging. Rocky Road chocolate, always very encouraging. A lovely badge, I'm not weird, I'm limited edition. Himself laughed a little too loudly at that one, I thought. And some of their yarn. So this is Attic Spendai. Hello. And this is Superwash Merino and Nylon, 75-25, 100 grams, 425 metres. It is yarn. Their yarn is beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. And this colourway is a little stick of Blackpool Rock, which for those of a certain age in the UK will understand when I say, hey, hey, turned out nice again. Anyone else will be completely confused. Don't worry, it's fine. So thank you so much. Stunning colours on this. Bright yellow, orange, pinks, greens. Oh, just fabulous. So thank you so much. Just means the world knowing people are thinking of me, and I know lots of people are, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you. I don't know what I'm going to make with any of these yarns at the moment. They need to kind of percolate for a while, but what a lovely problem to have, to think, oh, what should I do with that? Nice situation to be in, so thank you so much. Now I'm working my way through some old works in progress, and I'm doing them for like a week at a time and then moving on to something else. And this one, I had grand plans. I often have grand plans. I'm going to show you a picture of a pattern that I had published some time ago in a magazine. Can't remember which one. I'll put the details on the screen with the picture. Here it comes. I used to design for a few magazines just on a very casual basis, and I would work to their specifications, which at that time was not terribly size inclusive. So I was forever making patterns that I couldn't have knitted for myself. And a couple of times I did go beyond the size range suggested, but not always, and not with this particular sweater. So it occurred to me that that was, well, a bit poor, frankly. So this is a pattern that I thought I would scale up and also scale better. I made some pretty rookie errors at that time, which, given the simplicity of the shapes that I was designing, they kind of don't matter, because, for example, I would increase sleeve length when I didn't really need to on bigger sizes. And if you're making a sweater yourself, they were straight sleeves. They were very easy to shorten. Now, I'm not suggesting you should do that, but it's something that people quite often do just to tailor to their own needs anyway. That's not to make excuses for the fact that I made mistakes on these things, and so I'm now trying to correct that. And I did have grand plans that I was going to make this thing, I was going to get it tech edited for a range of sizes, I was going to potentially put it out to any test knitters who wanted to do it, and then still offer it for free because it was a free pattern, but I just felt that I wanted to make it better. That was when I had a bit more energy and enthusiasm. At the moment, I'm making it to fit me, and that might be as far as I go. I'm hoping this is a temporary state because of sort of general fatigue, and that I will go back to that plan. But yeah, anyway, this is where we're at. So initially the design was in all one colour, and I was given yarn support by the magazine, so they supplied the yarn for me to make the sample. I see this very much as a summer sweater, so made in cotton, which isn't something, it's not my favourite fibre to use, but often is a good idea for summer weights, although it does get quite heavy, of course. But it works with this pattern with the drape because of the sort of weightiness of it. So this is as far as I've got with the one that's for me, which actually looks pretty big already, because considering, I mean, this would fit round me, and I'm going to drop stitches either side of the cables to give that sort of open feel. So it will get bigger, but it is meant to be an oversized sort of throw on over a summer dress or a bathing suit type of sweater. So this is what it is. I am putting together all of the cotton in my stash, and I'm actually quite pleased with the way these colours are coming together, more by accident than design. And it might get a bit bright and colourful at the top because I have this and another of this same yarn, which is a Katia yarn. They are mostly 100% cotton. There are some cotton mixes in here. I'm not going to go through all the yarns at the moment. When this is finished, I will do a rundown of all of the yarns used so you can see. But they are all commercially available yarns. The bottom two were bought in Portugal. Well, they're bought on Madeira, so they're Portuguese yarns. The rest are all widely available, certainly in the UK, and I'm guessing probably elsewhere in the world as well. So this is where we're at, and like I say, I'm pleased with how the colours have come together. I've just split all the balls in half because you work up and then you cast off for the neck, and then you cast on for the neck, and then you work down. So I've split all the balls in half so that you can work up in one set of colours and back down to match. That's it so far. So there is progress, because I think the last time you saw it was here, and that was a few months ago because it did sit in a box for a long time. I lost enthusiasm for a lot of things. But I'm working sort of systematically through my whips at the moment, and you'll see slow progress on this. If I finish one of my sort of general working on all the time projects and feel that I really want to get a wiggle on with one of my rota projects, then I'll put that into that more regular circulation. But for the moment, it will be slow progress on this. But slow's not necessarily bad. Progress is better than no progress. So, yeah. Whether it will be ready for the summer is a question that I can't yet answer. My theory is possibly not. But we'll see how we go. Those are my wonderful acquisitions, so thank you again to those who have very kindly sent stuff to me. It is very, very much appreciated, and I'll catch up with you in the next section. Cheers. Hello lovelies, hope everyone's well. Last weekend, as I record this, I had the delight of meeting Bente and her lovely husband. Bente is the Epilogue lady here on YouTube, and she's linked below, but I'm sure most of you know her anyway. And she and her husband were over from Norway. They come over, try to come over every year. He likes to watch matches at Brighton Football Club. Now, as I'm married to a Crystal Palace supporter, this leaves us with conflict because the two teams really don't like each other, or the two clubs really don't like each other. But luckily, these are both sensible men who aren't getting involved in petty quarrels, and they just enjoy watching football. So they had come over, had a few days in Brighton, went to the game, and then on Sunday they came over to where I live, and I met them. We had a lovely day, the sun was shining. We spent a lot of time just kind of chatting and drinking coffee and eating, and it was a really nice time. I did take them to the one shop near where I live that sells yarn, although neither of us bought yarn. They don't have a huge selection. They also sell a lot of sort of stationery items and haberdashery items. So purchases were made, but not yarn, as it turned out. Now, part of the reason for this is Bente is a very keen spinner, and it's something she's started doing in the last year or so. She's a very skilled spinner as well, and she and I exchanged some gifts, which was a lovely thing, because she gave me 2 items and she dyed both of these. She used to dye under the Arctic Crafts name. She works in a different position now, but this fabulousness is 130 grams of 100% Southdown fibre. And the reason why she chose the Southdown is because last year when we met in Lewes, which is the county town of Sussex, and it's on the South Downs. And she was pleased at the time to go through places where some of these sheep breeds come from. So she dyed me up some Southdown, which is very kind. Thank you, Bente. She also dyed me up a sock blank because she knew that these were my colours, and this is a 75-25 sock blank, and yeah, these are my colours, absolutely. Oh, wonderful. So looking forward to using both of these, which is a fabulous thing. Lovely to spend time with her and her husband, and lots of chatting, you know, good old time. Really nice to see her. And I also gave her some gifts. I gave her a braid of fibre from Witchcrafty Lady, but also I made some Rolags. And I'm going to put a film in here of the Rolags that I made. We begin by putting the fibre onto the blending board, and there are 5 different fibres here. 4 of them are Corriedale from World of Wool, and the grey is a Corriedale Perrendale mix from Witchcrafty Lady. Once the board is covered, you then comb it into the teeth, and I'm actually using dog brushes for this because I found that they work better than the brush that came with the blending board, but that could just be me. And once that's done, you repeat the process again. More fibre, more brushing. Once you've got everything you want on the board, you then use a couple of rods, sadly not drumsticks, to roll the fibre off the board. I later attached a couple of G-clamps to my desk to help the board stay in position because I was fighting it a little bit. And then you repeat the whole process. You can use your brush or comb to pick up any fibres that are stuck in the board, but I personally found that my paper knife did a better job, as it got between the teeth without bending any of them and was able to get underneath the fibre. So necessity being the mother of invention and all that, that worked best for me. And at the risk of repeating myself, you then do the whole thing again until you've used up all your fibre. After I'd finished the Rolags, there were 2 that I kept back rather than giving them to Bente. One because it broke as I was trying to just put it into a little neat spiral, and the other because it looked like it had a hernia. So I thought I would spin them myself and see how they worked. I spun one of the Rolags going from the purple to the teal, and the other going from the teal to the purple, so that it was kind of end to end, if you see what I mean. I then wound that single into a yarn cake and using both ends, plied them together. So this is the yarn I made from the 2 Rolags that I kept behind because they were somewhat imperfect. I called the whole lot imperfect Rolags, but these were even less, well, they were a bit rubbish, so. But they spun up fine, and this is the yarn that I've made. So I have got here, it's a 2-ply, 20 wraps per inch, 21 grams of it, just over 40 metres. And I like the colours, and I'm delighted to say that Bente liked the colours too, which is a relief. I was hoping I'd chosen colours that she enjoyed, but she did comment on how much she liked them, so that was a big relief, and I was very happy. So I hope she enjoys spinning the Rolags as well. This weekend I'm meeting someone else. I am going to meet Dr. Kristi. This is Kristi from Kristi's Corner. She has a floss tube here on YouTube, and again I'll make sure that her channel is linked below. And Kristi is the daughter of Barbara from the Flame and Fibre podcast, and again I'm sure most of you know Kristi or know of Kristi through Barbara. She's in the UK doing research. In her non-crafting life, in her day job, Kristi is a professor of medieval history, so she's doing some research at the moment, and she's been doing some research in London, and she's on her way to Canterbury, which is where I grew up. And she said on our last podcast, you know, if anyone wants to meet up, and I just messaged, curse my hospital appointments, because I knew that every day this week I was going to have commitments and didn't know if I'd be able to get to different places. But because I live near Hastings, which is a place with a lot of history, she's quite keen to come and have a quick look and have some lunch. So that is wonderful. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing her tomorrow. But again, I wanted to make her a little gift. And on her last podcast, Kristi had received some crochet collars that a friend had made her. And I also decided to make a crochet collar, which I hope she likes. Now they're normally black, and the pattern is showing it in black. I'll put a picture up here of the designer's photograph. I didn't have black yarn of the right weight, or that would be soft enough to wear against the neck, so I decided to go for this lovely blue instead. And this yarn is actually a lace weight yarn from Wool on the X. It's their bright lace base, which is 50% superwash merino and 50% tencel. So it does have a nice sheen to it, and it is lovely and soft. The pattern is the Crochet Skull Collar by Luna Still, which is a €3 pattern. And I'll put some photos in to show it even better, but there are skulls. So skulls in this lace pattern all the way around, and it does up. You can put buttons on it, but ribbon for a sort of corset style way of fastening, which makes it adaptable for size, which is good. Now I used the yarn double. Although the pattern was originally for lace weight, it was for a lace weight yarn, 100% cotton, which would then sort of, it felt to me it would go kind of a little bit tighter, and I thought this would be nicer and more comfortable to wear. If Kristi chooses to wear it, she may not. That is entirely her choice. I made a mistake on one of the skulls, which I didn't notice until I was blocking. And blocking this is not easy, and it's not for the squeamish. A few years ago, I cut the neck off a polystyrene head, and a lot of people were unhappy with this. So if you didn't like that, you may want to look away for the next moment or two as I show you the picture of this blocking. Good old Bert, he puts up with a lot. So yes, I spotted whilst blocking it that there was a mistake, which I've managed to correct. So it's not the prettiest of corrections, but it does then make it look like a skull, because what had happened is it had 4 sort of chain gaps, and I'd started working into the wrong ones, so the face was sort of half this side, half another, and I wanted to even things up a little, which I've done. I did retrospectively. I think that's all I have to say on that. It used 24 grams of the yarn, so I was using it double, so only 12 grams. It's 800 meters per 100 grams, so 8 times 12 is 96 meters. Yeah. So a pattern that you get a lot for your yardage, I would say. Definitely benefits from being blocked out, especially the lace part of it. I am currently making another pattern by the same designer. I have another project on the go with a similar kind of vibe, and I didn't even realise they were the same designer. I just put them into my basket on Ravelry, and then when I went to pay for them, I realised they were both the same designer. That's fine. I will talk about the 2 patterns together when I finish that project, which should be, I'm hoping, imminent, because that's got to go off for a birthday gift fairly soon. But this is the latest FO. So it's the Crochet Skull Collar by Luna Still, made in lace yarn by Wool on the X. I'm rather pleased with it. I hope Kristi likes it too. Cheers. Hello lovelies. Please excuse even more chaos behind me than normal. Sister Bev has been staying, so the ironing board, which normally lives in the spare room, is living here at the moment. It's having a little holiday. I have received a big box which says fragile, which I'm about to... I've undone the seal, but I haven't opened it, so we are unboxing together. I've known for a while this is coming because someone asked for my address and said that they were sending something, but I don't know what it is. So this is very exciting. Oh wow, okay. Hello, we've got something on the front here. Oh, that's cute. That's a very sweet little pouch. Oh! And it's got things in it. It's got a very sweet little sweater and mittens. How gorgeous is that? And a little needle pouch with needles. You know? Obviously my dexterity is up to its usual standards. But a couple of fine and chunky tapestry needles in this gorgeous little bag. Thank you. Oh wow. Now, knowing what this person does as one of their interests, or possibly even their profession, oh my goodness, there's loads in here. Oh wow. Let's unwrap this. Oh my goodness. Now, this is from Virgin, who is a mosaic artist, and just, isn't that stunning? Thank you so much. That is just beautiful. Called Sunflower, perfectly named. Wow. That is fabulous. God, the skill level involved in that is just phenomenal. Oh gosh, thank you so much. That is beyond anything wonderful. And I am going to link, I will double check with Virginia what she would like linked in the notes, because obviously I would like to help promote her, because looking at the card, these are items that she makes for sale, but I don't know what information she wants me to put out. So, but oh my goodness, I'm just going to wrap this up again until I've worked out where it will live. Oh my goodness, that is stunning. Very well packaged. So I'm going to put that on the ironing board for the moment. But that's not all. I mean, my goodness me. We have some candy of some sort. These are called Heath. English toffee enrobed in rich chocolatey coating. That sounds rather yummy. But there is also yarn in here. Oh, and a card. Wow, so beautiful sock set. Corriedale sock, 75% superwash Corriedale, 25% nylon, 115 grams, 4 ounces, 434 yards, in the colourway Fence Post. Even stripes of yellow scale lichen, twisted vines, DK green, rusty wire, weathered wood, green algia, speckleback lichen, blue, from Knit Spin Farm. Just stunning. Oh my goodness. Just such a kind and wonderful gift. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything. Not that I'm expecting more, because I wasn't expecting this. This is fabulous. The card is also one of Virgine's, a picture of one of Virgine's mosaics. I hope the wolf doesn't scare you. No, it doesn't. It is absolutely beautiful. Goodness me, I am blown away. I don't know what to say. Just the mosaic, the yarn, the needle pouch, the card, just everything is stunning, and I am so grateful. I've just noticed on the notions pouch, got a couple of little charms here. Nice sparkly one, and this one says keep calm and kill all zombies. Good advice there, but just beautiful. Thank you so much. Obviously I'm going to get on the phone in a sec to thank you personally, but wow, thank you, just stunning, much appreciated. Hello lovies.
Hello, I'm back again.
So sorry, I am so sorry.
That was my phone.
What's your phone? Do you need to get that?
No,
okay.
No, it's fine. Be one of my many fans.
See what you've done to her? You say, oh, we enjoy Bev's company, and now look at it.
Fame has just gone to my head, I'm sorry.
Well,
I just can't cope with all this celebrity status that I now have.
There's not much else in there, so
no,
you know,
that's true.
Yeah,
it's a lot of space, a lot of space. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm back doing community service, looking after Bev.
Yeah. I'm on one of my weekend retreats.
Yeah, she's back on community service, walking the dog. So thank you very much for that.
That's all right. We had a very good dog walk today. Found a £5 note on the road. Buy a lottery ticket tonight, I think.
We do call her the rich.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't know why. Don't know why, but they do.
Because you find fivers when you're out walking the dog.
That's it. It's Heidi. She's the rich one. She was walking.
She never does for me.
So, no, well, you see, I can't help the status I've got. Anyway, over to you. I'll just sit here pulling faces and doing things.
Oh dear Lord. Well, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing, which you saw last month, if you saw my last month's podcast, as a sort of started thing.
She's not got an itch there, she's just getting a bit of paper out of the pocket, in case you're wondering.
And I think last month I'd got to about here. And it's grown since then. So this is the Leaves Cascade sweater, a crochet sweater by Anna D. And I rather like it. I'm very pleased with it.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you. In fact, I like it so much I've already started another one, which I'll show you in the works in progress. But I have made some modifications. That's unusual. But I will talk you through it and through the yarn. So the main yarn is from Rose's Knitting Shed, and it's her Donegal Nep yarn. These are all 4-ply / fingering weight yarns. So I had 3 skeins of that. really lovely. The only thing is, when I was working it, I found my fingers were changing colour. Although when I soaked the item and blocked it, it was fine. So I'm hoping that wearing it over a white shirt just shows up the lace, doesn't make the white shirt less white. But we shall see.
All will be revealed.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about.
Mm-hmm.
The next yarn is a bit of unknown that was in the stash. It's kind of red and green. And then this at the bottom is Stranded Dye Works Merino Yak Nylon in a one-of-a-kind colourway.
Excuse me, I'm just answering my fan mail while she's talking. That's my door, it's all right.
You'd think your entourage would be paying attention to the talent, wouldn't you? But obviously not. Used about 1,400 metres of yarn altogether. And modifications I made, there are many. Firstly, I put some back shaping in, some back neck shaping. So the original pattern is basically a series of rectangles that you sew together. I put some longer stitches around the back neck to raise it slightly. Not those kind of stitches.
Oh.
No, more sort of, yeah.
Carry on. I don't do knitting or crocheting, you can tell, can't you? It's just over my head.
She doesn't do BSL or any other sign language either. No, which is fine.
Yes.
Which is fine. Yes.
My glasses just slipping in.
So yes, I put some more stitches in the back to raise the back neck slightly. I altered the length of the sweater. The original pattern, I'll put a picture in, is cropped. I didn't want it cropped, so I've made it a little bit longer. In the original, both pieces, front and back, have this lace pattern. I just made the back plain. So it's one of those lace patterns that the actual repeat is only 3 rows, and in theory it's easy to remember, but it's one of those, because it has a lot of repeats, that's the dog, because it has a lot of repeats within the within that pattern, it's easy to lose track of where you are. So, and we now have a little furry friend.
No, she's settling down on
a cushion, bless her. The assembly method I changed slightly. A lot of other people on Ravelry who had made this said they found the sleeves very tight. So rather than starting with a chain and then working the stitches, I did foundation trebles. That would be doubles in US terms. I just find that gives it a slightly looser tension. And also, the designer said to sew the side seams together and then fit the sleeves in. I didn't do that. I sewed the sleeves on and then sewed up the sleeve and the side just to give it a little bit more flexibility. It's the way I normally do them. So, the lace at the bottom, like I say, I was sort of struggling a bit to remember the lace, and by the time it got to the bottom, I just made up my own pattern because I was losing the will by then, frankly. So.
Never met Will, but she loses him quite often.
I do. And then on the very base of the hem, I did my usual crab stitch edging to just give that a neat finish. Over only.
Yes.
Yes. So I really liked it, really enjoyed making it, apart from losing the will with this lace pattern. So the next one I'm making, other mods I'm making, I'm going to make the sleeves slightly tighter. As we know, I like the old sausage casing sleeves rather than anything too baggy. And also I'm doing it plain front and back.
No sausages in my sleeves.
No, but we're going out for lunch later.
Oh, that's true, yes.
Yes, I'm going to do plain. I mean, I might put a pattern in, but it won't be this pattern, but I'm using the numbers from this to make the next sweater, which I will show you in the works in progress.
Busy, isn't she?
Oh, well, when you're not working.
Well, that's it. We can pass away the hours quite easily doing stuff.
Oh yes,
can't we? Yes.
Yeah, so that is The Leaves Cascade by Anna D with modifications, as always. So Bev, tell me about your life. What have you been up to?
Well, do you know, it's really weird because I'm back to mainly walk Heidi, and it seems ages ago since I was here, but I was actually here up until Tuesday. I came down Sunday last week and stayed till Tuesday because himself was off at a concert. So I'm doggy walking duties, which was lovely. And then I came back yesterday. Stayed last night. Heidi walked today. Going out for a Sunday roast. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And then I should drive back to my own home. And then I probably... Here she comes. Yay, Heidi, Heidi's. I probably then won't be back staying with little sis until June, when I'm going to invite myself to stay for a week, because I shall be down for our annual walk that we do, our Race for Life walk. And I did say to little sis, if I may stay for a week, we'd go and do our day trips out, or some of them at least.
And I said, oh yes, that will be lovely.
Yeah. She didn't look very pleased, I have to say, but I'm just going to squat here for the week regardless, so...
When she says squat, she means move in without permission. She doesn't mean anything biological.
That's it, the term, yes. So, so I'm back home today, but I've had a nice sort of on and off week down here, and not really done a lot, because the weather's been a bit iffy, hasn't it? And because of the times I've been here, the weather's not really suited, so... Just nice spending a bit of time with little sis. But yes, so that's it. But hopefully in April we're all going to get together and go to the theatre, but that won't be in Hastings, that'll be back in our homeland of Canterbury, going to see Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, oh you pretty Chitty Bang Bang. I've seen it before at the theatre, but Cindy, Les and Kelly haven't, so hopefully we're going to have a fun night going to see that, the four of us.
But I do need someone to hold my hand, because I'm still scared of the child catcher.
And the child catcher is, if you watch EastEnders, any of you, it's Charlie Brooks, and she was brilliant. And she's in it again on this new run, so that should be fun. But I'll make sure little sis is safe so she can report back afterwards.
I will be frightened.
Yes, yes. What do you see? You people laughing at me. If none of you have seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you will have no idea what that was, but it's
To be honest, if any of you enjoy music, you'll have had no idea what that was.
No, because no idea of tunes at all.
No. It's a good job we know the words.
Yes, yes. So that's really all that I've been up to at the moment. Not a lot else. In May I'm going to Liverpool. Great. I'm going for a weekend, and I might even go Birkenhead. Birkenhead. Go across the Mersey to Birkenhead. So yes, I went a couple of years ago. Did mainly the music, the Beatles stuff. This time going to do the more cultural side, the museums and the galleries. And also going to see Torvill and Dean in their Farewell Ice show, so that's part of the reason it's in Liverpool. So yeah, apart from that,
and you're going with your eldest friend.
I'm going with my eldest friend from school, my friend Angela, who we first met when we were age 13, and amazingly we still speak to each other, which is very rare, but we do.
Again, I'm not sure what she's done, but her community service is pretty stringent.
Yeah, she's still getting the help and therapy for it.
Yeah,
so,
I hope so.
Yeah, but no, she does. In fact, so much so she let me stay last year and took me to Wimbledon. So Angela's my bestest friend. So that's what I've been up to really. And other than that, I've just been at home sorting things out.
And quite a few theatre trips. You are a regular.
Oh yes,
theatre
I
goer.
do love live theatre. And this year in January I went to see, now that's what I call a musical, which was, if you like 80s music, was very good, very funny. Then in February I went to see Murder on the Orient Express.
Less funny,
but equally a good play. And then in March I actually have been twice in the last, which is why I went home and come back again, because I went a week ago to see local amateur dramatic production of The Lady Killers, which actually was very good. I didn't know what to expect, but it was really good. And then Friday I went to see The Carpenter's Experience, which was a good sing-along Carpenter's song evening, and that's the reason I went home Tuesday and came back down yesterday. So yeah, and then next month, as I say, I've got Torvill and Dean. I haven't got any theatre trips booked in June.
No, but you're coming here.
But I'm coming here.
Well,
so
I'll see what's on at the local theatre.
I was going to say we might do something local.
Yeah, we'll see what's on.
If not, we'll do our own play, busking on the streets. couldn't we?
Yeah,
Because
so
you never know.
The June podcast may be from jail.
Yeah.
Public nuisance.
You know, we'll put a GoFundMe bail money page up if we need to.
Yeah.
So,
but thinking of the Orient Express, you're a big Agatha Christie fan, aren't you?
Love Agatha Christie.
And
yes,
when I were a girl, we used to go quite often. If there was an Agatha Christie play on, we'd normally go and see it, wouldn't we? So.
Yes, and I actually have all of Agatha Christie's books.
She can't read, but...
No. I used to have each individual paperback, but then somebody was selling their older collection of 2 or 3 books in a book, so omnibus or whatever they call them. So I decided to give me more space in my bookcase, get rid of the individual paperbacks and buy those, and then just get the paperbacks for the ones that were later than this production. So that's what I did. And then, I haven't read them yet, but I've also got the 6 that she produced under the name of...
Something else.
Mary Westmacott. Always a winner in quiz questions, that is. Who is Mary Westmacott?
There you go.
And the answer is Agatha Christie. There you go. That is my knowledge imparted to you.
And you went to her house in Devon, is that
Went
right?
to Greenways, her house in Devon, with my friend Angela.
The only friend she's got.
Yeah, I know, I bribe her to come with me. We were a big 60 a couple of years ago, and we decided...
Surely not.
I know, I only look 40, I know. We decided to make a list of things we'd like to do, and things that were on both our lists we did. So one of those was Liverpool, one of them was Greenways, and if you've ever heard of it in Cornwall, the Minnack Theatre, which is a theatre built into the rock face that an 80-odd-year-old lady built. And
she must have been strong.
She was very strong, and it was done early beginning of war, I think, and they didn't believe she was building it because she was such an elderly lady, and she actually built. If you get a chance and you've never heard of it, Google it. It's an amazing place.
I'll try and find a link and put it in the notes.
And they do, obviously it's an outdoor, so they only do concerts and things in the summer. They do lots of plays there, and I've been there to do the tourist trail. But one of the things on the list was to actually go to a play. Well, we didn't see a play, but we actually saw the original group, the Fisherman's Friends, which again, some of you may have heard of, some not, but they do all the sea shanty songs. So we actually did that, and then we met my nephew that night for fish and chips on the beach. And then the next day we drove home via Greenway and stopped at Agatha Christie's house. Beautiful house, beautiful surroundings. Right on the edge of the River Dart. I personally would just live in the fisherman's hut down the bottom. It was just gorgeous. Had a little wood burner and everything. It was really, really lovely. It's now National Trust. But if ever you're down Torbay area, you can either get to it from the river, you can get to it by train, or you can drive to it. But it's definitely well worth. The grounds are just amazing. The house is actually quite small. I was surprised. But then it's a home, it's not a big stately palace. But yeah, well worth a visit. Very nice indeed.
Marvellous.
There you go. I've taken up most of your podcast
That's
already.
Okay. That's okay.
See, I know you're all interested in what I do now. So I'm just going to keep going on and on.
And Heidi's just here looking gorgeous.
Yeah, she's just beauty. You're such a good girl, aren't you? Yes. Are you going to look at the camera?
No, she doesn't do cameras.
You don't do cameras? Do you not do cameras? Are you camera shy? Yes.
No publicity.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
She charges for each second that she's actually on the screen.
Cost me a fortune in dog treats.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just as well I found the £5 this morning to buy her some, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Good girl.
There we go. So that's my update.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, there is a possibility we are in the throes of persuading Big Sis to chat with us next month.
Yes.
So if you've been bored by this, you'll be really bored in April. But
we just hold no responsibility for whatever might come out of her mouth.
That makes it sound like she's got Tourette's.
No, we keep suggesting it, and we said it would be nice when the three of us, because we always talk of Big Sis, Little Sis. They never talk of Middle Sis, actually, do they?
You know why,
Never
don't you?
heard you say Middle Sis.
You told me the other day how you did hear me say Middle Sis.
I did actually once, yeah, I'm only jesting.
Don't lie.
Yes, I'm only jesting. No, we're trying to persuade Big Sis to be in one. She's been in the background or things, hasn't she?
Yeah.
excuse me, but we're trying to persuade her to actually speak.
Yes.
Yes, so watch this space.
Indeed. Oh dear.
Excuse me, too much talking.
I'm going to go and get Bev a glass of water. So thank you everyone. I'll see you in the next clip.
And I'll see you in June if I don't see you before. But hopefully next month with Big Sis.
There's always something to look forward to in life, isn't there?
Happy knitting and crocheting and whatever else you do. Take care.
Hello lovelies. Got a few bits and pieces to show you in this section. The first is some yarn. Himself's nephew and girlfriend came to visit us and they bought our Christmas present because we hadn't seen them since then. Off on the way. And they very kindly got me a couple of balls of yarn. Now this is a name that I hadn't known before, and I understand it's a Danish based department store kind of place. So let me get the name for you there. So I would pronounce it as Sostren Green, but I could be completely wrong. These yarns are both the wool blend, which is 70% wool, 30% viscose from bamboo. They are 50 gram balls, I think, and they contain 125 metres of yarn. Colourways are hidden. I think this is 14 and 11. Okay. Very pretty yarns, so very soft, pale, sort of grey lilac, and then cream with blues and greens in speckles. Look the yarn up on Ravelry, and they show it as a sport weight. It feels more like a DK, and that yardage would suggest a DK as well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But very pretty, lovely and soft, with a wool bamboo blend. You would expect it to be, and it is. So very happy to receive that. I've also got some more spinning, and this is all from the same batch. The woolly winder, the bobbins are slightly smaller, so I ended up making 2 skeins with just under 200 grams of yarn. 3-ply, classic 3-ply, 11 wraps per inch. This is fibre from John Arbon. It's called Deck Chair because it's striped. And I got this at a guild show, a local guild show, some time ago, a few years ago now. John Arbon were exhibiting there, so I picked up some yarn. It was a very, very reasonable price. And I thought I'd have it as a sort of practice yarn. It was just before I got my wheel, so I thought it would be a practice yarn. And that's what it has been, because viewers who have been around for many years may remember this enormously heavy shawl. So this is the Jig Shawl by Stephen West, and I called this particular project The Evolution of Handspun, because these are predominantly handspun yarns of varying qualities, because they were my early handspun, and some of them are very thick and thin. Yeah, and here is a great big swathe of that yarn. Now I think this was a 2-ply, it may be a 3, but certainly what's coming out now is a lot more consistent and even, which you would expect with a few years of practice. So nice to be able to compare, and very glad to be getting better. And I'm looking around because when Bente gave me that lovely braid of fibre, I thought in the same project these would go well. So I have this spinning done. I've also got a finished object to show you, and I showed you the collar, the lace collar that I made for Kristi with the skulls, and I have also made a scarf for a friend's birthday. It's by the same designer, which is Luna Still, and this also has skulls on it. This is, I have a group of friends, we call ourselves the Dead Friends, because we all work in the funeral trade in some shape or form, mostly celebrancy. And I thought she would quite like a scarf with skulls on, so that's what I've made her. This was made from a hobby yarn. It was the Hobby Wheel of Alpaca, which as you can see is a colour change. So we go from pink to paler pink to even paler pink, through to a soft grey lilac, and then through to lilac. And it does get darker as well. There are 250 grams on the cake of yarn, and this scarf used 120 grams, so it's about 450 metres of yarn. I'm very pleased with it. It's blocked quite nicely, so I shall wrap this up and send it to her. But I did say I would talk about this designer's patterns when I'd finished this project. And I'm going to sound like I'm nearly negative here, which I don't mean to. I think these patterns are brilliantly designed. I think the way the skulls are done are very clever. I think the look of them is great, and these clusters around the shells. I mean, here's the designer's picture of the pattern, and where you've got the white against dark, you really see it beautifully. So I think they are really well designed. I don't think they're terribly well described, and this is where I've had a problem with both of the patterns. So I would say not for beginner crocheters, because you'll drive yourself to distraction with them. I think there are some errors in this one as well, and again, excuse the dog barking. If I have time and energy, I will look into it. If I think there are errors, I will get in contact with the designer to let them know. This is not to complain, although it is a paid-for pattern, but even if it's not, it should still be to a standard. You know, people very generously give their patterns for free, but you would still expect them to be workable. And as a part-time designer myself, if there's a mistake, I like to know about it because I like to correct it for the next users. So, this is the crochet scarf by Luna Still, also known as the Skull Queen crochet shawl. And not all of the instructions are clear. For example, in the scarf it says repeat pattern. It doesn't specify which rows you're working on, and it doesn't tell you which row to end on. The yarn usage, the pattern says between 250 and 1,000 metres, which is, you know, a substantial difference. And I appreciate some people want a short scarf, some people want a long scarf. But I was thinking, and she, in fairness, she does tell you how many metres we used for her sample. But I used this particular yarn because although it has a colour change, I wanted to use the same yarn all the way through. Had I known that it was only going to be 450 metres, I might have made a different choice with some of my double knitting weight yarns, for example, and gone down a different route for this particular scarf for this particular friend. So, the ending, because there's a point at the beginning and a point at the end. I made it up myself because I could not make the instructions fit against any of the pattern rows that would precede it. So I made up my own version in the end. And again, if you were a beginner crocheter, you wouldn't feel confident doing that necessarily. I mean, if you do, fantastic, go for it. But I don't know what the dog's barking at, I do apologise. But if you're a less experienced and less confident crocheter, then I would avoid this until you've got a few more patterns under your belt. I wouldn't say don't make these patterns, because like I say, I think the designs themselves are great, and I think there are some lovely features in them which make them really nice patterns, particularly for gifts, you know, nice details in them. But just be cautious when you're approaching them, because there are these slightly unclear instructions and things that don't quite make sense. It could be me, you know, I'm happy to say it could be me. Only a few people have made these patterns on Ravelry. Some have expressed difficulties with some of the instructions, and they have said that they've contacted the designer and sought clarification from them, so that's great. But yeah, just approach with caution. And whereas we're often told trust the pattern, this is one of those where you can't quite, and you have to trust yourself a bit more. So that is that. That was a bit of a rush through 3 different things, but sometimes life's like that. Cheers. Hello lovelies. Before I do a roundup of whips, I'm going to talk about a project that I'm going to pull apart and start again. And I know for some of you this will be disappointing, because when I showed you this as a whip, a lot of you were saying, oh, I look forward to seeing that. So sorry. Yeah, life's like that. It is the jacket that I was making in this fluffy yarn. Because the reality is, I don't think I'll ever wear it. And I think that's why I haven't been terribly enthusiastic about working on it. I'd got a reasonable distance. I had split for the sleeves and had worked that far from there. But the reality is, I'm not going to wear it because I'll feel ridiculous. I don't know if you remember the honey monster, but that's what I'll feel like. So we are going to say farewell. I think one of my reasons for wanting to make it is that I really wanted to use the yarn. And what I was doing, for those who weren't here or who don't remember, and why should you, I was using 3 strands of yarn together. 2 of this, which is Sweetheart Damson, no idea who it's made by, bought as a cone, and this eyelash, which has no information. I mean, it says on it Genesis, made in Spain. I don't know if that's the yarn brand or not. The feel of these together, the fabric that they've created, is lovely. And I think that was another thing that kind of kept me enthusiastic, but I know myself, I am not going to wear a fluffy jacket. I'm not even going to wear it as like an under jacket beneath a waterproof coat. I'm just not going to. So we're going to pull this apart, but before we do, I'm going to try, and it's not going to be the easiest fabric to read, but I'm going to try and do a gauge swatch, or measure my gauge, because I have a cunning plan. That grey chair, which I like very much, is light grey. And I am a spiller of tea. I don't mean by that I have lots of good gossip about people. I mean I am literally a spiller of tea, coffee, juice, lunch, you know, whatever I have in that chair is likely to get spilt on it, and I am concerned because it's a very pale colour. So what I'm going to make is a large throw to go over that chair, because this will match the colours in the room. It will be this lovely, soft, fluffy, but it won't be a jacket that I won't wear. So that's the plan. So it's sad to undo the work that I've done, but it makes no sense to keep going on something that is just not going to get used. So we shall say thank you for the opportunity, and we shall measure the gauge, because I think I'm going to make it a stocking stitch blanket with wide borders of probably moss stitch to stop it curling too much. But that's going to be the plan on this, because I do like this fabric. So I'll keep the same needle size, which I can't remember what it is. I think it's a 6mm, and just work out how many stitches I need. It will be a long project. It will take me a very long time. At some point I will get bored and start doing like a log cabin or something like that, because I will get fed up with it. This we know and understand. But I think it would be a better use of this yarn and a better use of what this yarn can create. So that's the plan. Well, it's always sad when you have to unpick some work, but I'm always entertained by large yarn cakes, so I'll enjoy knitting from this again. Hello lovelies. This is a long episode this month, I apologise for that. But I've got a few more things to show you, then I'll do a bit of a health update, and then I'll shut up, so all good. The first thing I'm showing you is some spinning, which has been plied this morning but still needs to be soaked, skeined up and so forth. These are from some Rolags, we're still on the Rolags theme, from Spindles and Stitches in the Lazy Sunday colourway. It's a merino batch of fibre in some beautiful colours. And I also had in my fibre stash some waste fibre, which had been kindly sent to me by someone I bought fibre from. And this waste, which are the bits kind of left over from the milling process. These were yak, alpaca, silk and merino. So rather lovely and soft. Put a photo in here so you can see it's quite sort of patchy and bitty, as you would expect given that it's waste. And I was struggling at first to think, how do I prep this? And I thought, I'll make some Rolags, because obviously that's the only thought in my head at the moment. So I just combed it all onto the blending board, rolled it, and there we have it. So because of the mixed nature of the waste fibre, it is quite thick and thin. So the Rolags from Spindles and Stitches have spun fairly evenly and consistently. The white waste fibre is more art yarnish. But I'm quite happy with that, because I think it's going to make this an interesting yarn, that we'll have one consistent fibre with one less consistent. It's a classic 2-ply. I don't know how much I've got on here yet. It'll be about 100 grams of yarn altogether. So I think it'll be a sort of 1 skein shawl type of quantity. And the little ball of yarn I've got from the Rolags that I made, that I held back from giving to Bente, I think would go quite nicely as an edging for this. So we shall see. So like I say, this needs soaking, skeining, thwacking, sort of the final preps. But it's spun and plied. So it's been a very crochet heavy podcast this month, and that continues. I said I'd already started a second leaf cascade, or leaves cascade, and I have. I've done a sleeve and a bit, so I'll show you the sleeve. This is in some gorgeous yarn, actually from Bente, when she used to dye yarn under the Arctic Crafts name, and I've forgotten the colourway. I'll put it in the notes below. Unfortunately she's not dyeing yarn anymore, so sorry, but I do really like this colour, and I've got a selection of sort of turquoise, teals, blues to make the sweater from. So that's the first whip. I had this plan a few months ago of like having a rota, and I do intend to get back to that, but because this month I was then making gift makes with a deadline, or with 2 deadlines, that rota went by the wayside because I wanted to get these items finished. So now the other one you saw last month, and it is the La Rentrée sweater by Melissa Clulo, which I'm making out of some of my hand spun and some alpaca that a friend of a friend's flock very kindly produced. I showed you this last month, and here's the marker. Now this is a bit of a fabrication because I ended up having to unpick a lot of this. It turned out enormous. Partly my fault, I think. I normally make the largest size of any pattern, and it's easy because I just go for the largest size. This one I didn't need the largest because it's a very inclusive range, but I got in a pickle basically. So I think I unpicked back to about here and then worked down again, but I put the marker back roughly equivalent to where it was. It was still feeling pretty loose, and as it's a round yoke, I always feel there's a danger that I'll turn a little bit clown-like in one of them. So although I'd had this idea of wanting to see what this looked like in a round yoke, I've actually made a bit of a modification that I'm quite pleased with actually. I mean, I don't know if I've got away with it or not, but what I decided to do was to turn my round yoke into more of a sort of raglan shape, And when I split for the sleeves, dropped down a number of stitches. I think it was 8 at the top, but on both sides of the sleeve divide, and then using a crochet hook, or a series of crochet hooks, because they got bigger as I moved down this part of the sweater, made a mock cable, or 2 mock cables, to pull it all in. So let me move that a little bit closer. And it's done a good job of just pulling everything in, and basically taking kind of 8 stitches down to 2, because I just picked up and knitted from the chain loops that effectively I was creating. And yeah, I think I've got away with it. It's not perfect, and thinking about it afterwards, I probably should have then just carried on with a regular cable down here to keep that theme going, but I didn't, so there we go. But it is making it just that little bit closer fitting. If we look at that, that would just fit a little better, I think. And it hasn't lost too much of the circular yoke feel. I was worried it was going to give it a definite raglan type bend in the stripe, but because at the top of this, where there are fewer stitches, we're talking about a very small chain that gets bigger as we work down, it's kind of worked. What I'll do, if I remember and get organised, when I do the second sleeve, I'll record what I'm doing so that you can see what my process was on that. It's not something I would recommend doing on every sweater, but if you do have one that's coming out too big, you've already unpicked it once and you don't want to unpick it again, this is a method. So like I say, that's the La Rentrée. I don't know why it's gone so big. I'd done a gauge swatch. In fact, I started with a gauge swatch to then find the pattern. I think it's because I was trying to work between sizes and my brain is not at its strongest right now. When my sister Bev was here, she brought with her 3 sweaters that I had knitted for her previously, and she found them all very loose around the neck. And this is probably a bad example to talk about it in, because it's a V-neck and it is quite wide on the neck opening. But I have altered 2 of them, and I'm just about to do the 3rd. So the first one was a ranunculus, and in all cases all I've actually done is just doubled the depth of the neckband, because she tried them all on, and if the neckband was like this, I'd kind of hold that distance, say right, that'll be kind of like that now, and she said yeah, that's fine. So now on the ranunculus, it looks as though this neck is now incredibly tiny, but I have checked, it does fit over my head. And if it fits over my head, I expect it to fit over Bev's. But if not, I can redo it, that's not a problem. The other 2 patterns I've got here, they were magazine patterns that she'd found, so I'm not in a position to link them below. But again, I just doubled the depth of the neckband, and luckily I found some very similar yarn in a similar but not the same palette. I knew I'd used up the rest of the yarn. It went into a basket I made a couple of months ago, but I found something very similar. So the blues, the dark blues match. This pale blue isn't in the original yarn, so I unpicked the whole neckband but for a couple of rows, worked in the other colour as it were, and then just topped it off with what I'd unpicked from the main colour to give her a deeper neckband on that one. So I'm hoping that will now be a better fit for her. And some of these sweaters she's had for quite a long time. Again, this was from a magazine, Woman's Weekly, People's Friend, that kind of thing. And I don't know if the neckband has just got a bit baggy over time or if it just didn't suit her in the first place. I've now taken a lot of measurements from a sweater she does like the fit of, because I'm going to make her a new sweater. And I've measured things like neck depth, neck opening, as well as sleeve length and all the usual things. So hopefully the next sweater I make her will be a fit that she likes. But this one, again, I don't have the original yarn. It was made some time ago. So I'm just putting a couple of rows in of navy And then I have a very similar colour, although it's a different type of yarn, and I'm going to do another half a dozen rows with that just to build up the neckband. So while I crack on with that, I'll have a bit of a health update. Realise that's not for everyone, so if this is where you leave, thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you again next month, and happy crafting to you all. If you're still here, let's talk about the others. No, joking. Yes, health update. So as predicted, I had radiotherapy. I had 2 weeks of daily radiotherapy. Many of you have been through it or something similar. So while it's happening, while you're actually in the machine or have the machine around you, you don't feel a thing. But it is something that, although it's very targeted on the specific area that they're treating, it can have a bit of an impact on the parts of the body around it. So I have had some discomfort and some aching and that sort of thing, which kind of grew, it accumulated over the 2 weeks. And talking with a friend of mine the other day who 6 years ago had 6 weeks of radiotherapy, I was like, because that would have been, by the end of 2 weeks I was ready to stop. So 6 weeks felt like a lot, but you know, he got through it and is here to tell the tale, and long may he continue to be so. So yeah, so that's done. I've had a scan, I've had a blood test. The blood test has revealed some ongoing things, but we don't know how much they're to do with just the after effects of the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy that I've had. So that's kind of on its monitoring. And at the beginning of next month we meet the oncologist to then get the results of the scan, find out how effective the radiotherapy has been, and see what happens next. So it feels a little bit state of flux, hiatus, on hold, not really sure what's happening, but not for long. Like I say, early next month we'll have that meeting and we'll find out what's the next stage. So my personal feeling on this, based on what I'm still going through and what I feel in my body, is that it hasn't shrunk the tumour completely, and I don't know if it was ever expected to, but hopefully it's done some good, shrunk it down a bit, and makes the next stage of treatment easier, assuming there is to be one. So that's where we are. Life stuff. It's been fairly quiet, although it was our 30th wedding anniversary this week. So we did go out for a meal, which was very nice. And there were times when going out for a meal was very commonplace for us. But we went to a pub that we used to go to quite regularly. It does very nice food. And as we got out of the car, himself said, "Haven't been here for ages." I said, "Well, we haven't been anywhere for ages, you know. There's a couple of cafes that we've been to very close to home. But in terms of sort of anywhere that requires a drive or going out in an evening, I mean, my goodness, then that just hasn't happened for lots of fairly clear reasons. So it was nice to go out, have a meal. It was fairly quiet in the pub. It was midweek. So yeah, it was nice to go out and have a good meal. What else has been happening? Not a lot. As Bev said, next month off to the theatre with my sisters and niece to see Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and staying overnight at my sister's. So that'll be the first time I've stayed overnight somewhere that's not a hospital in about 9 months. So that will be good. But yeah, apart from that, just sort of quiet living, resting, doing all the things that I've been told I should do. I think that's everything. Like I say, apologies that this is a little bit long this month, but I got a lot more done than I was expecting. The radiotherapy did make me tired, as I was told it would, but I was able to carry on crafting. It was, I mean, there were times when I just slept, but it was a kind of general fatigue rather than a need to be in bed all afternoon sort of tiredness. So a lot of the times I was just sitting in the chair, knitting away. And the things I've been working on have been fairly plain. There hasn't been much that's complicated to work on, so I could just apart from those 2 skull things, but I was post-therapy by then. So I've just been able to get on with things like that cream-coloured sweater that, yes, I had to unpick it and knit it again, which is always frustrating, but it was stocking stitch with the odd line of increases, so very straightforward to just keep knitting. And also with a project like that, if you do need to put it down for a small little nap, it's easy to pick up and start again. You're not rummaging through the pattern thinking, where on earth was I? Because it's just round and round and round, so that works. So more of the same. Nothing particularly exciting to be cast on at this stage, but who knows? If you'd asked me at the beginning of last month if I would have made a lace collar and a scarf, I wouldn't have thought that was in the pipeline, but it was. So this is the adventure of crafting and why we love casting on new things. So anyway, my lovelies, I have prattled on enough, so I just wish you all well, wish you all health, happiness, enjoyable crafting and peace and calm, and take very good care of yourselves. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next month. Cheers. Bye bye.